Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Teacher Cast Podcast, coming to you live from the birthplace of Rocky Balboa in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, with your host, Jeff Bradbury.
Welcome to episode 4 of the Principal Cast Podcast, hosted by Teresa Stagger, Jessica Johnson, and myself, Dr. Spike Cook. Principal Cast is a weekly roundtable discussion about current topics in education leadership. For more information, please visit www.principalcast.com. There are many great ways to contact Principal Cast. First way, of course, is our website, www.principalcast.com. Second is through email, info@principalcast.com. You can follow the hashtag on Twitter, PrincipalCast, and also tweet directly to us at PrincipalCast. You can also find both our audio and video feeds on iTunes. So welcome to the 4th episode, everybody. We're going to start out this week. Unfortunately, Teresa is not able to make it. So we have Jessica, who is fresh off of her trip to Indiana.
Well, first of all, can I just say, I think the real reason Teresa is not here is because my Packers beat her Lions. Yeah. I'm just going to call her out on it.
I was thinking that same thing, Jess, but you know what? It could have been food poisoning. It could be a couple of other things, but yeah, I thought that earlier today. So, so Jess, you weren't with us last week because you were busy in Indiana. Could you tell everybody what was going on and what are some of the things that you were doing last week? Jessica, we're having some technical difficulties. Unfortunately, we didn't hear that. Jeff, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay.
You can't hear me?
Now we can.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't do anything, though.
That's weird. All right. Well,
how weird. Okay.
Edit that out. Okay, so Jessica, you weren't with us last week. You were in Indiana, and you spent some time talking with some educators, and you were having dinner, I believe, last week with a very good friend, innovator, motivator, Todd Whitaker, and also Amber Tiemann. So can you talk to us a little bit about where you were last week?
Yeah, so I flew to Indianapolis. Amber Tiemann, who is an administrator from Texas, also flew there. Todd Whitaker picked us up from the airport, which was really cool and exciting. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, you made a face like you can't hear me. Okay, we then, Todd showed us Indianapolis. We went out to dinner. Great conversation to have, other educator minds there, especially an author of like 30 books. Another added bonus to that was that we ended up having dinner next to, we were looking over and thought, that looks like a big basketball team, and it was the WNBA Atlanta Dream team who had just won their playoff game that night. So a little added excitement to our dinner. And then the next day, we went to the Indiana Principal Leadership Institute. That is a program that runs for 2 years for, I want to say there's like 80 or 90 principals in the state that attend this. They have different trainings throughout the year, and we presented in the afternoon on principals and social media. So Amber talked about some really great ways of connecting with your families, talking about Facebook and Twitter, and showed everybody how to use Hootsuite, and I think it was Follow Fast, where if their parents are not on Twitter, they can use text messaging, where it actually, they subscribe via her Twitter account, but without having Twitter, they get text messages. And then I presented on creating your own PLN using Twitter and following blogs. So really, really exciting day.
That's awesome. So when you have Todd sitting there and you guys are having dinner and stuff, I mean, because we all want to ask him all these questions, and I've got a chance to interview him before for my blog, but to have him sitting there and talking with him. So what are some of the things that you talked about?
Oh my goodness. I mean, we talked everything education-wise. We talked about writing books, getting published. We talked about Twitter, all the great connections on Twitter, talked about ISTE. I wasn't there, but Amber was. Talked about future conferences. For anybody not in education, it would have been probably the most boring conversation ever because all we talked about was education.
That's awesome. So at any point did he shift the monkey back to you? I mean, you were telling him something was going on at your school and he said, I got to shift that monkey back to you?
Oh, gosh, I can't remember. I don't remember. It's kind of.
I remember the time that I interviewed him for my blog. It was hilarious because he took the call and probably shouldn't. He was helping his daughter move into an apartment, and so he's on the cell phone and we're talking, and I forget, I was going over something, and he said, Spike, basically what you're doing is you're shifting the monkey. When you make that announcement, in a staff meeting, you're basically pushing a blame monkey on your entire staff. And is that what you want to do? And he's lifting boxes and moving in, to moving his daughter into an apartment. I thought it was awesome, like how he could have that focus. So did he speak at the conference?
You know what is really funny? You're not going to believe this, but he is like the gopher of the program. So like I'm sure he spoke the last time that they met. This time he just kind of did some of the back work in the room as other people were presenting in the beginning. But was probably the most exciting for Amber and I is that he introduced us, which was really cool. I wanted to actually record him. I had my camera or my phone ready to record him introducing me, but I thought I'd look really pathetic.
Oh, that's cool. So what kind of connections did you make with the principals in Indiana? I'm sure, you follow them or they follow you, so it was probably a pretty cool opportunity for you and Amber.
Yeah, well, and all of the people that I found that day that were starting their accounts, or they had previously started their account and were actually, tweeting out, learning how to use it for a PLN purpose. I added them to a list. So if you look at my lists on my Twitter profile, I just have it as IPLI, and I've already, as many as I could, I've added to that list. Or if you just use the hashtag IPLI, which is for Indiana Principal Leadership Institute, they're trying to continue connecting together using that hashtag. So you'll find them all there. And one is actually, I can't think of his name without finding my list right now, and then clicking on my computer, it'll mute me. An author who just co-wrote one of Todd Whitaker's newest books that's coming out this month, The Secret Solution.
Okay.
So I got to chat with him, and I've already actually read that book, did a preview of that. So it was great to connect with him since I had read his work as well. And just, really great principals out there with great ideas and great questions to ask. And yeah, it was just an incredible day. And what I told them is, and I say this whenever I'm sharing Twitter in a presentation, this isn't about, trying to get more followers on Twitter or what was that, or whatever. I'm trying to build my PLN. So it's really for selfish purposes that I want to get more principals on Twitter so I can keep learning from them.
Yeah, that's awesome, Jess. And I'm sure that you were well received, because just knowing you over the last, probably year and a half and all the things that you have to offer, I'm sure it was an awesome experience. And, and Amber too, you guys are definitely pushing the envelope on things. So we look forward to many great things coming out of Indiana.
Sure. Well, thanks. And I will tweet out a link with our presentations and our handouts that are in one of my blog posts.
Okay.
And Jeff, I'll put that in the show notes.
And the other thing is, I know that with Todd's new book coming out, and even the gentleman that you mentioned that was one of the co-authors, hopefully we'll get them on later in October, and then we can talk a little bit more specifically about the new book.
Yeah, hoping to get Todd Whitaker on here.
Great. All right, Jess, so our first segment is always what's been happening, and you want to talk to us a little bit about a distribution center through Walmart that your school was recognized for?
Yeah, so this was pretty cool. I was contacted by our Walmart distribution center and said that we were nominated to be recognized by them, and I had to in secret plan with them. I couldn't tell any of my teachers what this was, but they came in one day last week on Thursday, I had to call everybody in for a special assembly, and the teachers knew about the assembly. It was in my weekly, my Friday Focus post for them, and I said, special assembly, I can't tell you what it is. If you ask me any questions, you will have to sing on the stage, because I'm a horrible liar, and if they would have asked me, I wouldn't have been able to say anything. And nobody asked. Nobody wanted to sing. So everybody, the whole entire school gathered, and Walmart came in. They started talking about how great teachers are, how great our school is. The kids got all pumped up, and then they did a drawing for 20 $50 gift cards for our teachers.
Awesome.
And then they fed all of our kids in the whole school cake. So like they were totally pumped and so excited. And I think the funniest part, this has nothing to do with school or principal, but one of the Walmart employees was taking pictures, and later on when I came in from recess and the kids are going through their lunch shifts getting cake, he shows me a picture on his camera of a kid like covered in frosting. He goes, do you know who this boy is? And I look, I'm like, that's my son.
Oh my God.
I go, did anybody else look like that? He said, well, there were maybe just him and one other boy. I'm like,
right.
Oh man.
Oh, that's classic.
The principal's kid.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, he's mine. It's really cool. So, and how did the teachers respond to all that?
I think they were all excited. I was sad though, like I have 26, or no, there were 26 teachers in the room. There's like 32 staff because we share with some of the middle school and high school. But so to have 20 gift cards and there was just a handful that didn't, I was a little sad of that. But I think they were all still so excited.
No, that's a shame. Well, that sounds like a cool thing that they did. So for me, as far as like what's been going on, we started, a new teacher evaluation system this year. We're using McCrell. And so this week was filled with several pre-conferences, evaluations, post-conferences, utilizing the new tool. And the cool thing about this is, as we're sort of laying this out, we have to do a inter-rater reliability. So I got a chance to work with another administrator. He's our math and science supervisor, who I respect a great deal. And we got a chance to sit down and watch a 40-minute lesson in a first grade class and work on our inter-rater reliability. But then also for me, to like as a newer administrator, to learn from him and some of the things that are going on, I thought it was really cool. And when we were finished, he said, do you want to, just compare our notes, or how do you want to do this? And I said, well, if you don't mind, Ray, let's just go through the entire rubric. Because before we were using a district type of evaluation system, so I felt like a court stenographer. I just would go into the class and I would just type and type and type and type and take down everything that I could. And with this new evaluation system, it's not really necessary to do that. So I wanted to go through, and we actually literally went through the entire rubric and had a deep conversation about the different aspects of the rubric, where the teacher was, where there was opportunities to, in the post-conference, to have a discussion, because the McCrell evaluation is all based on this conversation between the teacher and the administrator. So if you don't see something that the teacher does, they provide an artifact. You discuss that, and that could impact the evaluation, where you put them on the rubric. So it was great because there were some things we left blank. There were some things that we maybe rated lower on and said, well, when she comes in, maybe she could show us or talk with us about that, because we didn't see it within that 40-minute time. So it was really good. And then, of course, in the fashion of a true elementary principal, when it was time for the post-conference and we were going to do that together, I had 2 irate parents in that I needed to see. Was investigating a bully situation. A young man in 5th grade was crying his eyes out. So I had 3 or 4 different things going on at the same time.
That's just crazy. I never have any issues like that.
So Ray just looked through, and I have this little, I keep talking to you guys about my office, but this little ice cream window, and he looked through the ice cream window and he said, can you just tell me your login, and I'll take care of the post conference. And it was hilarious because I'm like, well, I haven't even changed it. So I gave him what the the login was, and he went through and took care of it, and it was great. But that's going to be my biggest challenge. I see, is we have an increased amount of observations that we have to do this year, and all the other things that are going on, because basically I'm a one-man show.
Yeah, I'm the same. And Spike, I have to ask, is this your first year or your second year with the new evaluation system?
This is our first year. In New Jersey, there were opportunities to pilot, I guess the last 2 or 3 years. We chose to not pilot, and so the rollout happened for everybody this year.
Okay, because we're in our second year. We piloted last year. It's not state mandated until next year, but ours, as I've heard you talk about a lot of the components, ours sounds really similar. Like we just did our self-assessment. I'm leading teachers on the SLO tomorrow, which is SGO in your state,
right.
Another acronym. We have the formal and informal conferences. The rubric for us didn't come up until the summative at the end of the year, but just quite a few components, but still able to make it a very, it actually is a great tool for a really reflective process and conversations with the teacher. And I've spoken a few times on leading with the coaching mindset,
right.
Along with the evaluation process, that don't make it about the forms, don't make it about the paperwork, have it be about the conversation. So it's interesting to hear how yours works too.
What form are you using, or is it?
Well, our system was developed with Dr. James Strong.
Okay, yeah, I've heard.
Was yours?
No, we're using McCrell. So, our state approved, I think it was Strong, Marzano, McCrell, and Danielson, and we went with the McCrell.
And yeah, our state model is Danielson. Ours is called the CESA 6 Teacher Effectiveness Project, but many districts in the state went with this one. It was developed with many teachers and administrators throughout the state with Dr. James Strong, and he's from the East Coast, so I'm sure there's many similarities, obviously. Mm-hmm. And then the online portion where all of the forms are is in mylearningplan.com, or it's called Oasis. I know Tony Sinanis uses that at his school, so that must be big out in the East Coast too. Yeah,
I think from what I've heard, like in New Jersey, I think like maybe 70% of the state went with the Danielson model. Mm-hmm. But I have seen like Eric Scheninger tweet out that he's done McCrell, so I know we have that in common. But there's McCrell, and like I said, Marzano. The district that I live in, their teachers are evaluated through Marzano. But I think the whole thing is very similar. Like you said, it's more of a conversation. It's more of an ability to try to encapsulate exactly what's going on in the life of the teacher, not just what you see in those observations. Because, like for us, like a tenured teacher with 5 or more years of experience, you only have to do 3 20-minute observations. So with that, you're only seeing really a minute part of what their entire year is like, and there's other components of it when you put everything together. So I think when we look at this and we get into these conversations, I'm hoping that it's going to inform my practice and make me a better leader. And it's something that, like even when I just blogged about, as I struggled to be, an education leader, but also paying attention to the small things, the details.
Yeah. Hey, we've got some really good questions in the chat right now from Peggy and Craig. Peggy, first of all, asked, are you scripting those lessons, or how are you capturing your observations? Do you rate it right on the rubric? And I'll just say that I used to be a scripting queen. Like I would script out word for word, and then I would take that script later on, and I would, take the time to go through and analyze it and then write up the evaluation from that observation. However, that would take me forever. So I actually, and I did that for years. So it was really hard to give up scripting. I just simply use the form when I'm in the classroom. Whatever I see, I just type in within each standard what I'm seeing, and I get a lot of it filled out when I'm in the classroom observing. I might sometimes use my notepad still just for like, I'll have like a class seating chart, and I might, mark on each student desk like whether they're on task or off task, or if the teacher wants me to keep track of, how she gets around the room or whatever. So I might script other things. Do you script?
That's what I was calling. Like I used to be much more of a scripter, like as
Hmm.
much as being like a court stenographer. The way I put it, like I typed
Yeah.
everything down, and the teachers really appreciated that. But in order for me, I feel like to learn this new evaluation tool and to to really understand the manner in which we're rolling this out, it's not necessary anymore. So I'm actually being forced to take a step back, become more familiar with the rubric, make some different anecdotal notes, and that's about it. Like so I'm really, and it's tough for me because I got in there and I get my laptop and I just want to start typing because I wanted to, like you said, capture everything and be able to talk with teachers about that. But just going to continue to do the anecdotal notes and then have those discussions that I think are important.
Yeah, and then Craig asked, how many times are you going in to observe formally or being evaluated? And I will just say our system, um, last year when we did it as a pilot, every single teacher was two formals and two informals, which as a district we decided to change because some people couldn't keep up with that. And so now it's they're on a 3-year cycle. If they're post-probationary, where they have the first 2 years are 2 informal observations, and the third one is 2 formal observations. But I wholly believe in getting into classrooms way more than that. I try to get into each classroom once a week. So I just give informal feedback outside of what's required, and I email teachers feedback or have verbal conversations with them. How many observations do you have, Spike?
It depends on where they are. Like if they're a first-year teacher, you were supposed to do 2 40-minute and 1 20-minute observation. If they're, I think, from like 2 to 4 years, it's 1 40-minute and 2 20-minute. And then if it's 5 or plus years, it's 3 20-minute. Those can be announced or unannounced.
Mm-hmm.
And we also use we use McCrell for our walkthroughs as well. And basically each administrator is required to do 10 walkthroughs a week, and we're supposed to have 30 walkthroughs on every teacher by the end of the year.
What did you, 30 per teacher?
30 per teacher by the end of the year. Yeah.
Okay.
So
wow.
we're in a pretty big school district, and over the last few years we've averaged like 17,000 walkthroughs as a district.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so our mosaic gets rather big. So now, it's a good transition as we're talking about walkthroughs. Jessica is going to talk to us a little bit about using Skitch for classroom walkthroughs. You want to talk a little bit more about that, Jess?
Sure. Yeah. So I love using Evernote. I use it for my brain, for everything, and that's where I keep track of my classroom walkthroughs. Not the ones that are for evaluation system, but just I have a checklist where I'm keeping track of whose room I've been in, and then that's where I also compose my my feedback that I will email them. And I love Skitch, which if you're not familiar with Skitch, that's another Evernote tool where you can take a picture and then you can just kind of you can edit it, you can annotate on it where you're writing text or maybe drawing an arrow. And somebody tweeted out, and I will. Now I have to find the link. They tweeted out a blog post showing how to use Evernote Skitch when you're doing your classroom walkthroughs.
I have
why?
That. It's actually David Lee Lee Tech. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he just shows right there, like take a picture in the teacher's classroom and then, annotate something on the picture and email it to them. So then they've got some feedback right there. So like one example, he's got a picture of the teacher and a student up by the smartboard and says, "Aaron, you did a great job. Thanks for representing our school so well." Obviously, I would put more feedback than that, but I just thought of how great of an idea that might be. And also, I'm thinking my teachers, if I sent a picture of the class and said like, "Oh, look at how independent your students were during Daily 5," I know darn well a teacher would pull that up and say, "Hey guys, look at what Mrs. Johnson sent us."
Yeah.
So it'd be great feedback for the students and for the teacher.
I think that's cool too, and that's something that I'm looking forward to implementing now that you've made me aware of it, because one of the things that, like getting back to the observation evaluation tool, is the concept of artifacts. So for instance, if I'm not seeing something in a formal observation, but I go in and I see cooperative learning, or I see use of technology, if I were to do something like that, then the teacher can use that as an artifact later on when we have that discussion. So that's really cool. I'm going to definitely look to do that.
That's a great idea.
That will be in our notes for today.
Yes.
Okay. Very cool. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how our school was recently recognized for a bronze medal for the Healthy School Alliance, and one of our staff members received an all-expense-paid trip to Little Rock, Arkansas, and
very cool.
Bill Clinton speak, and got a chance to meet with the various schools throughout the nation who were recognized for either a gold, a silver, or a bronze. And it was really cool because in talking with the teacher, when she returned and she had sent me pictures along the way, it was really cool because it was, it was an opportunity for schools to be recognized for their hard work and trying to change the culture of schools through being healthy, whether it is our school lunch, our athletic program, our snacks, and things that parents bring in, and although we're still working on it, Stephanie has really educated us into how we can change the school culture, and it's been difficult because a lot of people are used to, it's a child's birthday, so everyone should bring in cupcakes. Like you said, Walmart brings in cake, and being in an elementary school, we do recognize that there are times that we're going to do that. But we've started some new initiatives to try to help parents with that. Making sure that they're not dropping off McDonald's for lunch, and that things like that. So. This has been a really good week for us in that sense, and it just kind of inspired us to want to achieve more and go for a silver for next year. So it was really cool.
That's awesome.
So, so as we transition into keeping current. I don't know if you put this on here or Teresa did.
That was me.
That was you. Connected Principals are teaming up with NAESP and NASSP for Connected Educators Month. So that's pretty cool. I see that you have your NAESP hat on. I actually got a chance to present there this summer at NAESP with a couple teachers and my assistant superintendent.
Is that the same presentation that I heard you guys do at ASTD?
It was similar, yeah. In fact, this one we combined both the one that our administrators did, and then or our central administrators did, and then the one that we did. So yeah, very cool. Where we got to actually meet.
I almost got to go there because I was invited to come and do what. To talk social media, what Joe Mazza and Tony Sinanis did, but I couldn't afford to get out there. So it was really sad watching the Twitter stream as I wasn't there.
They did a great job, and there's a lot of work to be done. In fact, the proposal that we put in for this year all revolved around trying to help principals become more connected and to help them out with social media, because there was not a really big following there. I mean, there was a couple connected educators, that I got a chance to meet, Peter DeWitt, and but
awesome guy.
Yeah, but other than that, I mean, it was Joe and Tony trying to get everybody hooked up. So it's good that they're reaching out and they're trying to advance that a little bit. So what did you stumble across here? Connected Principals teaming up with these organizations.
Yeah, it's just, well, if you follow CP Chat, that has always been an ongoing chat, the Connected Principals. If you don't already follow the blog Connected Principals, I would highly recommend it. If you follow any blog, that would be the one, because there's probably 100 principals that contribute to the Connected Principals blog. I'm one of them. I'm sure you're one of them, Spike. Aren't you?
No, I'm actually not.
What?
I know.
Okay.
Isn't it crazy?
We need to get you hooked up there. All you have to do
I
is
do
just
follow
copy
them,
the same
yeah.
posts that you already have on yours. But it's just, one-stop shop for where there's lots of posts. So NAESP and NASSP are teaming up with CP Chat, and we're actually going to have a scheduled chat on Wednesday nights for the month of October. We're still working out who's going to be leading the chats each night, but I know Joe Mazza's one, myself, Tony Sinanis. I've lost the list of those of us that have been emailing all around. So there's going to be a different chat scheduled each Wednesday. This Wednesday is getting your colleagues connected. Then we've got getting recognition for informal PD, like connecting in online networks. There's going to be October 23rd, what could we do in our schools if we had really, really great broadband? And then October 30th, a crowdsourced topic, which will be announced later on.
Yeah, I see that's by Patrick Larkin, and Patrick he's a great guy. I love following him, especially when he was, the Burlington High School principal with the one-to-one initiative, and now he's transitioned into being assistant superintendent. So I've been definitely following him on that. Got a chance to talk with him. He's a great guy.
Yeah. All
Okay.
right.
Any questions popping up over there?
Well, I am really missing Teresa because she is so good at multitasking compared to me. I don't think so, but we did skip over Jeff or Spike. Sorry, I'm reading now. I'm trying to. That's why I can't multitask. I give out the wrong names. On our section, that's normally the question from the newbie or just kind of a hot topic for principals. I don't know if this is appropriate, but it's an article on phases of first-year teaching, and I share this with my teachers, with new teachers every year, but I also find that it really applies to everybody, I think, in any year, and I think as a principal, too. And we'll have to tweet out the link. I don't know if you can tweet while I'm talking because I can't multitask. I tried. But it shows this great kind of graphic of, how the first-year teacher, and again, I would say teacher of any year or principal at any year, where you start out in anticipation. So you're getting really excited, you're ready to jump in, and then as the year gets started in October, you're like in survival, which even though this is my 7th year as a principal, or 6th year, I lose track. I feel like I'm in survival right now. And I hope Teresa doesn't. I hope she's okay with saying this. But I remember last week she boxed us and said, if it doesn't get any worse than this week, then everything's going to be great. And I boxed back, sorry to burst your bubble, but it's just going to get worse. And no matter what I see, something worse always happens. So we're kind of all at that survival point. And then you get to November, December, and you're like in disillusionment because the stress piles up. Just everything you've got to do.
Mm-hmm.
This is when most people are getting sick in the year. And then you get Christmas break, and then you kind of come out in February, March in rejuvenation. You're much more excited. You're ready to finish the year strong. And then you get into reflection at the end of the year of how, and then again back to anticipation. So I share this with new teachers all the time and their mentors, but when Teresa said that in that box last week, I thought of this and I thought, oh my gosh, she needs to see this. And I don't know how you feel, but I feel like this every year. It's just I know to expect that I'm going to be in survival mode and disillusionment, but I'll get to rejuvenation eventually.
Yeah, it's funny. I looked at that and I really wish I had more new teachers, to be honest with you. Like this year we have one. Our physical education teacher. Last year we had another one, and it's just like we're at a point too, and I tease my staff all the time, especially when they looked at the matrix of the observations that we had to do. 98% of them are 5+ years. Now, most of them are from, maybe 8 to 10 or 12 years. And they've become the older teachers in the building. Whereas when they first started, they were the rookie teachers. They were looking, at all this kind of stuff, and now they've become, this sort of the entrenched, teachers. But they're almost all there. Like our bell-shaped curve is almost the reverse. Like where it's all pushing towards people who are tenured and involved in many different things beyond being a first year teacher. So I don't know, what's your staff like?
I've got quite an assortment. I've got veteran, close to retirement. I've got some new ones. Let me think. 4 years ago, I hired 8 brand new teachers. So that was like my big crop.
Wow.
And I just must add that was while I was in my final stretch of pregnancy. I actually left one interview to go to the hospital because I thought I was in labor. I mean, it was kind of crazy timing. So I've got a really good balance, I think, of new, middle, and veteran.
Yeah, the one new teacher that I have, she's new to the district, but she's not new to teaching. So she's had a few years where she taught, and then, like a lot of things that are happening, like getting rift and stuff like that. So, I'm gonna track this to see how she does with this because she is new to us. But, everything changes. But I'm looking at that, this disillusionment phase, where they've come through, the anticipation, they've survived, getting through the first couple weeks, and then, my hope is that she would become part of the family, as we like to call it, and then and get beyond that disillusionment phase where she's, part of us and connecting with the kids and the parents. So I did tweet both of those articles out that we discussed tonight.
Okay. And you know what, Scott in the chat room, Scott Merkel just made a really good point. He says we moved to Readers Workshop district-wide, so it's like having brand new teachers across all grades. So, and really, I mean, I would say that with the Common Core standards for us, it was brand new to all of our teachers. So it really changes, where you're at in your life cycle of teaching as new curriculum and new initiatives come.
Yeah, I mean, we're using a new reading. We're piloting a new reading series this year, Reading Street through Pearson. So there's a lot of teachers that have you're right. They feel like it's like Groundhog Day all over again. They're starting out. They're trying something new, and it shakes a little bit to their understanding of what they thought a 90-minute literacy block would be. So which is interesting. I think that one time I'd really like to sit down and go through that, like through the podcast, especially since we're all in elementary, and talk about the 90-minute, or I don't know how long you guys use, but the language arts balanced literacy approach.
Yeah, I would talk Daily 5 and Cafe the whole time.
Right. So so we should definitely talk about that.
Yeah, good topic.
All right. So, and also I will get that connected principles out. So is there anything else there, Jessica, other than the Packers winning today?
No, other than Simon Miller says he's trying to get principals on hearing our stories on here, and says he's going to have a principal cast viewing party if necessary to get them to hear the podcast and start getting connected.
That's awesome. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Well, and in transitioning to that, like what we try to do each week is to talk a little bit about the folks that are inspiring us. So hopefully, if anything, we're inspiring some people, but we also want to pay it forward. So, Jessica, you got to talk about your choice of the week.
My choice of the week, you've already heard me talk about her, is Amber Tiemann. She is 8Amber8 is her Twitter handle, and the reason for the 8 is that she's surrounded by Troy Aikman, whose number is 8. She is thoroughly obsessed with him. If you go to her Twitter handle and find her blog, she actually has a post all about meeting Troy, and even as we presented together, she had to talk about how great Troy Aikman is. And she has some really great tech things to share. She's an assistant principal at a tech magnet school. So even though I was presenting along with her, I learned great things from her last week. And her blog always is filled with great things as well. And she has the cutest Texas accent. I felt like I was like, as she spoke first, and then it was like watching the movie Fargo as I started talking.
So did you guys present together?
Yes and no. Like we had different parts. But we planned those ahead of time, and then when we met the night before, we looked at what each other was doing, and we just jumped into each other's as to help add other input.
Wow. And had you met in person before?
We met at ASCD for the first time. But that's the great thing about Twitter is when you're really connected with these people, they feel like they're all your best friends. I mean, you meet in person and it seems like, a long lost friend that you just haven't seen for a while.
Exactly, yeah. Which is a great transition. The person that I want to talk about tonight is Peter DeWitt. He is at Peter M. DeWitt, and I just tweeted that out, but it's PeterMDewitt, and he is an amazing elementary principal up in New York. And I got a chance to meet him at NAESP in July. Followed him for a while. He's an Education Week blogger, a real out-of-the-box thinker, a guy who challenges the process. And I was like really starstruck when I met him, though. I honestly say, I'm like, you're Peter DeWitt, one of those moments, and it was really cool. And so we got a chance to talk a great deal, and he was very helpful in talking with me about different issues going on with being a principal, being a leader. And then I did get a chance to see him present, and he actually taught me a little cool tool that he uses when he does a little like Screener. Do you use Screener, Jess?
What is that?
It's basically just a screencasting tool. So he was talking about like flipping your faculty meetings and stuff like that. So say you wanted to go over SGOs or SLOs and front load that, like you could. Basically, it's just a little box that gets superimposed over any website or video or anything that you want to show, and then you talk through it, and you get 5 minutes to do that, and you can basically just go through and show the teachers things that you want them to know before going to a faculty meeting. So
just making a screencast, basically.
Yeah, and
okay.
Yeah, it's exact same thing, but it's it's quick, it's very easy and free, and then you have all those cataloged, and then you can just tweet out the link or email the link to the teacher. So but he was really good. Got a chance to, like I said, talk with him. In fact, I saw him also later on that day in the ASCD the NAESP bookstore, and I said, is that weird? Like, your book is right over there. And he was there. He was actually there, I think, buying Michael Fullan or Todd Whitaker's book. Like, so it just goes to show that, like, even published authors, take the time to to read and expand. So so it's really cool. And I don't know if I noticed, if I said that to you earlier, but I did get a chance to see Todd speak at the NAESP conference, and he was amazing. Totally brought the house down.
Yeah, he presented on how to make all your teachers like your best teachers, right?
Yes. Yeah.
He and I talked on that topic at dinner.
Yeah.
Cool.
So very, very cool.
Well, I do have to say, and you didn't say this about Peter, but he is going to be done being a principal.
I didn't know
I think in December. Yeah, and he's going, which I was very sad, but he's going to be impacting a lot more people. He's going to be working for. Oh my gosh, I just thought it. Whoever, if you've read Visible Learning by John Hattie, he's going to be touring and presenting on that, so giving PD, and he's also going to be doing some work for Corwin Press.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so very sad. And then just to throw out another thought, you said Screener, you can do 5-minute screencasts. Another one just to throw out to you is Screencast-O-Matic, and you can do up to 15 minutes, and that one's super easy.
And that's Super-O-Matic.
Screencast-O-Matic.
Well, it's Super-O-Matic too.
Okay, it is super. Sorry.
That's okay. We go through this all the time. So we'll put those in the show notes. Screencaster-O-Matic, Super-O-Matic, Screener, all types of really, look, there she goes. She's typing right in there, folks. She's like right on top of it. So
because I'm not talking.
And it looks like we've actually reached our time because we're trying to keep these to about 45 minutes. So hopefully everybody enjoyed our talk tonight, and I just want to make sure that everybody knows that we are at Principal Cast on Twitter. Our host, of course, we have the infamous Jessica Johnson. You can find her blog at www.principalj.net. You can follow her on Twitter at PrincipalJ. Teresa Stagger, who unfortunately couldn't be with us tonight, she is www.principalstagger.blogspot.com, and you can follow her on Twitter at PrincipalStagger. Of course, myself, you can follow my blog at drspikecook.com. We're at Dr. Spike Cook. And just a reminder that there's many great ways to contact Principal Cast. www.principalcast.com, or email us at info@principalcast.com. Follow the hashtag PrincipalCast, and you can go to iTunes and find both our audio and video feeds on iTunes for Principal Cast. And this show would not be possible had it not been for the hard work of Jeffrey Bradbury, who is the infamous @TeacherCast on Twitter. He has an amazing site for all your professional development needs, www.teachercast.net, and all your podcasting and video needs at www.teachercast.tv. Jessica, it's been awesome.
Yes, it has. And we'll hopefully have Teresa back next week.
Yes.
We miss you.
We do miss her. All right. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next week.